So I think I'll start. I think Dr. K.K. Rao, Chairman, Institute of Engineers, Odisha State Center, and Engineer B.C. Tripathi, my junior in NIT and Chief Engineer, Roads and Building, and Engineer S.C. Dalai, IS, Additional Secretary, I think Housing and Urban Development, and Professor P.K. Padhi, immediate past chairman, Institute of Engineers, Dr. S.S. Das, Honorary Secretary, Institute of Engineers, Odisha State Chapter, and Anil, GM Ramco. You are doing excellent job by conducting the whole proceeding. So welcome to all of you. See, when we are talking Engineers Day, I think it's proper for me to Dr. Visvesvaraya, I have to take name before we start anything. So while showing my respect to a great man called Visvesvaraya, I mean, I don't have to talk about him. Anybody who is an engineer and who is associated with Institute of Engineers know what exactly was the personality. So I very much, and I keep it in mind. There are huge amount of quotes of Dr. Visvesvaraya if you read, because I was also chairman of Asansol chapter of West Bengal of Indian Institute of Engineers. I have gone through a lot of things which Visvesvaraya has done for the engineering fraternity. And he has also been paid back with the highest respect an engineer can get from the country is Bharat Ratna. And a single-handedly person has done something which till now, I think nobody was able to surpass or even match. The person contributing so much. Today, if I have to do something, I am going to the computer. The knowledge is no longer a premium. At that time, it was not a even not a calculator is there, but he has created dams after dams, designing the systems. Hyderabad, the water supply system and storage system, still it is working till today. And there was nothing except, I mean, maybe slide rule. I don't know whether 1900 there is a slide rule. And a draftsman and not so much of a skilled people and not so much skilled professionals are with him. And not only he has to work, he has to create a team of professionals out of nothing. He has to create a lot of Visvesvarayas, because one Visvesvaraya is not sufficient to make a Krishnarajasagar dam. It's not possible. If you look at the dam, seeing it, it's not possible for a single man job. He must have created a team where he must have built people. That's the greatness of, I mean, Sar Mukhyagundam Visvesvaraya. And I will quote one of the quote. Something which cannot be bought or measured with money. I mean, everything cannot be done with money. The value which we give, the contribution which we give to our work or our service cannot always be, I mean, measured in a money. And if we start measuring everything on money, our contribution cannot be that great. And I think difference between greatness and the normal people is that something you add with your innovation and with your ideas, which is you are not being, I mean, looking at the money when you contribute. That's the way an engineer has to work. Coming to today's topic, the role of engineers in building self-reliant India. I mean, every human being is unique, and so the nations, because I'm a strong advocate of the idea that I mean, you cannot just you cannot beat a country, or I cannot beat a person if I have to follow him. If I have to follow somebody, I will always remain behind. And if India has to beat, if you are talking of self-reliant, you cannot target self-reliance. You look at China, how they have taken the world. I mean, if you forget about what has been done with coronavirus and pandemic, to leave that portion of China, how they have lured the whole world. How they have lured the whole world. They're in the top of the world. Not everywhere, they have lured the mighty nations of the world to bring all their manufacturing facility, even the innovation center, to operate from China. It's not a democracy, it's a dictatorship. Human rights is not a value. In spite of all these things, the most democratic country and most country which value human rights has stopped their manufacturing facility in their place and come running. What exactly has happened? Why China has become like that? I will just stop the discussion here. That's a question which you have to analyze if you have to target our country to become self-reliant. And when I'm talking of self-reliant, it is definitely not self-reliant, it's self-reliant plus. I mean, nothing is called self-reliant. I have to be a giver if I have to be self-reliant. I cannot be just I cannot just feed myself. I should be in a position to give back to the world if I have to self-reliant. Either I give or I take. There is no neutral position in the world. Either I'm a giver or a taker. If I'm not a giver, I'm a taker. So that's the way in which we start our discussion. See, if we see what exactly is happening now, with gadgets taking much more and more pervasive to our lifestyle, 100 years back it was 1%. Now it is 90%. And what sort of a technology has entered into life? We have seen in pandemic where everybody is not able to work. The Chinese app are gaining thousands of crores. What is the value of an app in human's life? Where we are going? And if you are talking of the app having a turnover of more than 1,000 crores from India, then what are you talking? What you are talking? What the technology is doing to us? I mean, people are not getting food and moving out of their home or their workplace, and somebody designed an app and he's able to reach everybody's pocket, and he's playing and he's getting a revenue of thousands of crores across the world. So the business has taken a different step, and I mean the rules of the business has gone to a different level, which you have to admit. We are talking, or we are in the eve of a very great industrial revolution. That is, people are talking of Industry 4.0. I mean, if you talk of, we cannot just ignore what exactly is happening across the world. Maybe right now we are stuck up in handling a crisis, but the crisis is going to be over. It may take some casualty. Many of us may not be there in the end of this. I mean, pandemic is over, but human race will never cease to exist. It will continue. That's the way things will happen. If you are talking of Industry 4.0, what exactly is happening? Because this is very much important for the context of India or self-reliance, because it is not going to be the business which you are talking today is going to happen tomorrow. The whole rule is changing. The game is changing very fast, and we have to catch up the game. We cannot continue the way we are continuing today if I have to become self-reliant. I remember a occasion in '89 when Berlin Wall was getting broken. I was in Germany, and I was in an electronics farm. The person in the research laboratory of Siemens Germany in Nuremberg, and this person, while taking me out, showed me a building of around multi-storied building, maybe 20, 30 storied. He told me, Mr. Rath, you see the building. Nobody is allowed to go inside the building. I mean, what is the reason? He told me that as on today, Japan is 5 years ahead of us. Japan, the microelectronics is 5 years ahead of Germany. So we have put our best engineers into the building and given them one target. In 5 years, you have to be progress 10 years of Japan, so that after 5 years, we will be 5 years ahead of Japan. That's the thing which is happening. Which if we believe that we follow the Western world and we go on doing improvements, we will be always behind Western world. Just see why Industry 4.0 is coming. I think all of you know what is Industry 1.0, 2.0. I'm not going to repeat, because I have come very close contact with Industry 4.0 and the philosophy behind it. When I visited Czech Republic 2 years back and participating in an international conference, I stayed for more than a week. So when I'm talking of automation, when I'm talking of robotics, everything sounds good. But what I found, why these people are going so fast in this sort of a thing, I will tell you the reason behind what exactly is happening. We cannot ignore it, but we have to notice it. We have to be alert that that is going to happen in the world. What is happening? See, in the whole country, in the Western countries, they don't have that sort of a manpower base which India is having. I saw in Czech a unmanned petrol station. What exactly is happening? A car is coming, there is a mark, you have to stop the car at that moment and just press the button to open the petrol compartment. And the whole robots are coming, opening the thing. And in the app, you have already asked for the how much petrol you have transferred the money. And the whole thing is coming and they inserted in your thing and the petrol is coming and it's coming out and it's stopping, closing the thing. There is not a single person there and you are going out. That's all. Now, why? Why do you automate a petrol station? Because in that country, nobody is interested to hold that pipe and put it. The quality of life has gone to that level. If they have to put it, they have to get an immigrant from third world countries. Now Europe don't want immigrants. They don't want labor. They are feeling that whatever manpower they are having, with the quality of life, they are going from 5 to 6 days a week to 5 days a week to 4 days a week. Because they are the type of money, type of wealth which they are generating. They are people that are demanding a quality of life, not struggling to work. And they don't want immigrants. They are going on doing things which will reduce the dependency on this country on immigrant. Then let us talk about us. What is exactly happening here in India? We are taking this technology. We are bound to do this technology. You cannot ignore. We have to bound to technology. What is happening to our 130 crores people? We are surplus. We are people with surplus in different sector. How do we bring all these things? Can we afford to bring an unmanned station? A owner of a petrol pump will like it because it will increase his profit. It will decrease its dependency on people. He can always run the petrol pump sitting from his home. I can see from camera everything, but what is going to happen to our people who are doing it? That's a big question. Where with all this technology which you are bound to get and bound to assimilate in our society, in our industry, our engineers has to think, how do we apply this thing so that we don't create a society who are jobless? I mean, if we don't have an inclusive growth, we cannot be self-reliant. We cannot progress in one direction and telling people, okay, we don't have a job for you. The role of engineers comes here. How do we assimilate this technology, put it into service in wide sectors, not only industry, in the agriculture, in the public health, in construction, everywhere, taking advantage of this technology, but seeing to it that it is used in such a way that we generate employment. Employment is going to be a major problem in the country. And if you are not solving it with us, none of us will exist. Forget about self-reliant. This is going to create a social revolution which you cannot just resist. I strongly feel that happen. Then we let us study again the China. China is not only address its own need, but skilled a large population in such a way that it lured the whole world, the most professional and mighty countries of the world, to shift the manufacturing and innovation. It doesn't have a human right. So it has happened though. Initially, after the world wars, the military expenditure had brought the industry into the fore. After that, the industry was running in its way. A small country, Japan, came. I mean, how do you see a small country, Japan, taking the whole world into its and competing with them and coming forward? How can happen? They worked on the work culture. They worked on the quality concept, keeping the technology. They assimilated all the technology of Western countries. They never avoided that. But they brought work culture, they brought quality system, and a small country of Japan came forward and dictated the whole world. The whole industry across the world changed the style of working and adopted Japanese style of working. China. Another experiment similar to India, large manpower. The difference between Chinese labor and Indian labor, one of my friend who had built a plant in China was telling me that India is a cheap labor, China is cheap skilled labor. The skill level of Chinese labor are at par with Western industries, at par with Western industries. Not. So whenever the industry went there, wanted people, they got the right skill people. They don't have to skill them. They developed, they changed their education system in such a way, they really made their people skilled and a quick decision systems, not easy to start a business, but easy to sustain business. When we talk of easy to do a business, we have to create an environment where the businessman, it's not only you give them the land, give them the electricity and tell him to start to business, but give them the support to sustain its business. So these are the two things. If you go and make do a industry in China, the district collector comes and sits with you to review your project and find out what are the problems you are facing. The government is solving your problems so that the projects come is faster. We have to create an environment for this in this place. If you have to make, I mean, when I was reading in IIT Kanpur, a lot of people are leaving. IITs have running the Western world. If you see the Western world, if you see the big shots of Western world, the Indian managers are, why don't they are coming here? There was a survey by the government where people are filling up the forms. They are only telling that there is no environment for us. You have taught us something, but there is no environment to practice what we have been taught. We have to create an environment for professionals to do their best. A professional needs an environment to give his best. It's not always possible for him to, to create an environment. He always likes to have an environment, have a work culture where he contributes. This is another thing which India has to go. I am not going to specifics. I am talking in a macro way where India can put its, put its effort. The engineer cannot do. See what is happening now. Are the engineers are decision makers in this place, or they are only a techno managerial tool in the hand of the governance? I have seen in many cases the design based on very sound technical principles are overruled because of maybe some populist decisions, maybe because of some ulterior motives where some of our engineer fraternity is also responsible for that. So unless the engineers behave, they are having their confidence on their subject and confidence to stick to their subject, we, the engineers, cannot contribute to the society or the progress of the nation. The engineers has to be very thorough about their subject. After becoming thorough, they have to also stand to their convictions. In this regard, I only remember while I started my talk with Visvesvaraya, I would like to end my talk with a living legendary engineer, which I consider as a benchmark in this era. That is Mr. E. Sridharan, who has handled, the Delhi Metro. Quoting Sridharan. He's telling, be honest in your private and public life in such a way that you don't need to try hard to convince anybody. Stand firm and do not code, do not cede an inch while discharging your duties with conviction. Police your professional skills and do not let it go out of date. Keep your integrity so you hold in esteem even the most downtrodden in the society in your plans. Be moral. Follow habits that rejuvenate both your body and mind. India had a great heritage. We have got our value system and ethics. Putting our professionalism, our knowledge, binding with a value system and ethics which we have inherited from our ancestors will make the engineers stand apart in the society and bring back the confidence and respect of the society to the engineers. In turn, the engineers will build a self-reliant India. Thank you very much. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to talk. Thanks to Ramco Cement. Thanks to Odisha State Chapter of Institute of Engineers. Thank you very much. Thank you.